Good afternoon. We are requesting the participants to change their account name into your real name or the name of your institution so we may acknowledge you accordingly when needed. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. We are currently waiting for Chair De Vera to join our Zoom virtual forum. He is still in another regional meeting. Thank you very much for your patience. Once again, I would like to inform everyone that we are currently waiting for Chair De Vera to join our Zoom virtual forum. He is still in another regional meeting, so let us wait for him. Thank you very much for your patience.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. We are happy. We have a lot of participants coming from the different HEIs region. Private schools are very interested to hear from you. For a while, sir, we will be starting our session.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the virtual forum on update in Philippine higher education in the new normal, sponsored by the Regional Association of State Universities Colleges 6, or RASUC 6 Incorporated. At the onset, I would like to greet everyone a pleasant afternoon, especially to Dr. Maura Consolacion D. Cristo, CHED Region 6 Regional Director, Dr. Raul F. Muyong, President of Iloilo Science and Technology University and Chair of RASUC 6, Dr. Godelin G. Hisole, President of Iloilo State College of Fisheries, Dr. Joselito F. Villaru, President of West Visayas State University, Honorable J. Prospero Popoy de Vera III, Chairman, Commission on Higher Education, and to the presidents, administrators, and faculty members of private higher education institutions and state universities and colleges in attendance, warm greeting to all of you. It is nice to see all of your faces on Zoom today. And even if we are all far away from each other physically, and in spite of the current unprecedented situation that we are in, we find ways to be able to collaborate and make sure that quality instructional delivery finds its way to our students. And the challenges in learning continuity that the academic community is facing in the new normal are like mountains that we all together, hand in hand, are trying to climb and conquer. This virtual forum is very special because our esteemed guest is none other than Honorable J. Prospero de Vera III, Chairman of the Commission on Higher Education. I know that we have a lot of participants from the private higher education institutions and state universities and colleges in the Zoom call today who are looking forward to the updates from the chairman and to the open forum later to seek clarification regarding certain concerns that you have. Friends, before we start with the forum, allow me to read to you our ground rules. Everyone is advised to mute their device microphones as well as hide their videos to maximize the bandwidth for this virtual forum. The microphone and video icons are at the bottom of your device screen, and they appear when you press your screen or move your mouse pointer. Also, please change your account name into your real name or the name of your institution so we may acknowledge you accordingly when needed. Also, allow me to read to you the rules for the open forum later. You may type your name and the name of the institution you are affiliated with in the chat box so the moderator could acknowledge you. Once acknowledged, the Zoom call host will unmute your microphone so you may present your queries to Honorable De Vera. Others who do not prefer to orally interact may type their name, affiliation, and question in the chat box, and we will project your question on the screen, and the moderator will read it for you. Others who are watching via Facebook Live may also post their name, affiliation, and question in the comments, and we will try our very best to read it so that Chair De Vera may give his insights on it. I understand that your attendance in this forum is an indication of your eagerness to learn updates and get clarification on certain concern that you have. So we are all set for the program this afternoon. So without further ado, let's start this virtual forum on the updates in Philippine higher education in the new normal with a prayer to be led by the president of Iloilo State College of Fisheries, Dr. Godelin G. Hisole.
Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving Father, we come to you in gratitude today for the gift of life and the source of guidance. With grateful hearts, we thank you also for the presence of our participants and guests, and for allowing our beloved Chairman of the Commission on Higher Education, Chairman Popoy de Vera, to be with us today as our resource person in this virtual forum on updates in Philippines higher education in the new normal. Lord, send us the Spirit of your Son to guide everyone present to understand with an open heart and mind the matters to be talked about today. Lead everyone to be agile amidst these uncertainties brought about by this year's pandemic. Likewise, bring us to the right thoughts and speech to achieve what we desire for our respective organization. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our discussions so that this forum may reach a successful conclusion in the pursuit of quality higher education. All of this we ask in the name of our Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
The flexible learning seminar for our administrators for 54 private HEIs. Speaker was Dr. Annabel Chavez Balor, the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs at University of St. Lazal. Then on May 22, with 75 HEIs, Dr. Muyong, President ISAT U and RASO Chair, Member Technical Committee on Industrial Education Programs, Member TC on Technical Technology and Livelihood Education, Member TC of the Technical Panel of Teacher Education Programs, and Dr. Rex Sabada, Dean College of Arts and Sciences of UP Visayas, were our speakers. Then on May 27, 2020, with 97 HEIs, of course, hindi lang po 97 HEIs because we requested the HEIs to provide widescreen for their faculty, program heads, and deans. We invited Dr. Maria Asuncion Dequila, Dean College of Education for West Visayas State University, and Dr. Ricver Ureta, Dean College of Education, University of St. Lazal, for the teacher education programs. Then on May 28, 2020, with 34 HEIs, Dr. Ignacio Cordova Jr., Dean College of Business and Management, College of Hospitality and Tourism, Our Lady of Fatima University, member of the Technical Committee, was also invited to address the concerns of our deans, program heads, and faculty of Hospitality Management and Travel Management staff. On June 2, 2020, we invited Dr. Melinda Bandelaria, the Chancellor of UP Open University, to address the concerns of 47 HEIs in the field of technology and engineering programs. Then on June 5, 2020 and June 10, Dr. Jerry Caño, National President of PICAP, the TP and TC in Criminology and Industrial Security Management, also addressed the concerns of our faculty, deans, and program heads in criminal justice programs. Then on June 8, 2020, with 44 HEIs, Dr. Encarnacion Emilia Yap of Dean College of Fisheries of UP Visayas, and Dr. Jaime Cabarles Jr., Dean College of Agriculture, Central Philippine University, also addressed the concerns of our faculty, deans, and program heads on agri-fisheries programs. Then on June 9, 2020, with 145 HEIs, Dr. Barido Jr., Dean College of Management, UP Visayas, and Dr. Rowena Libuon, Dean Graduate School, Central Philippine University, was asked to share their best practices in the flexible learning implementation under the said programs. Then on June 15, 2020, with 31 HEIs, Dr. Eunice Sermonia, College of Medicine, West Visayas State University, with Attorney Alex Alibugha, RN, Dean College of Nursing of Central Philippine University, shared their best practices in flexible learning under medicine and nursing programs. Then we had on June 17, 2020, with 31 HEIs, the sharings of Dr. Remy Salvilla, Academic Supervisor, College of Pharmacy, University of San Agustin, and Mr. Jose Perez Jr., Supervisor, College of Medical Laboratory Science of the...
If you have any concerns to be addressed, or if there are any gray areas that you think need clarification regarding flexible learning modalities, or questions regarding how HEIs could be more responsive in the most challenging time, training of teachers and the like, please take this opportunity to air them out with Chair Popoy so that together we may continue rising up to the surmounting challenges brought by the pandemic. Our goals this afternoon are to disseminate information, generate ideas, share collective reflections and lessons learned from actions and activities we have already undertaken. All these are geared towards problem solving through a healthy and constructive virtual dialogue. Fellow educators, let us now welcome Honorable J. Prospero de Vera III for his opening statement, and this will be followed by the question and answer portion. Sir.
Uh, okay, good afternoon to everyone. I was told that I do not need to do a presentation because I'm really more interested in finding out what HAIs in Region 6 are doing and whatever questions they might have. Um, I would also like to thank RASOC 6 and CHEDRO 6 for allowing our webinar schedule to be moved. You know, one characteristic of the new normal is you have almost simultaneous webinars happening everywhere. That is part now of the new normal. And right now, I have 3 webinars ongoing. The IATF meeting is ongoing right now, so it's in one of my laptops in the office. The other one is we opened a webinar on transitioning sports development to the new normal. I think some of the presidents of SUCs in Region 6 also attended, also started that webinar this afternoon. So that's in the second laptop here in my office. And of course, this is the third one. So that's now part of the new normal. In fact, I'm trying to adjust to the new normal by I noticed that I have not been very healthy under the new normal because of too many meetings. So every week I ask Ella to free up some time for me so I can, disengage from the laptops and computers and do other important things. But first, let me congratulate our regional office in Region 6, led by Director Cristobal, and of course, RASOC 6 under President Raul Muyong for all the initiatives that you have done. I am amazed by the number of webinars that you have been doing and the number of meetings that you have been doing. I hope the other HAIs in the region are all on board on this initiative so we can exchange information and discussions, because one of the things that I have always said is that we must continue the conversation. We must continue to engage. We must continue to talk. We must continue to help each other. Because one of the realities under COVID-19 is there are really no experts on COVID. Develop and they own. So nakakuha naman sa magandang pakiusap. I am very happy that all the universities I talked to said they will help. Papua last night also told me they will help. And the intention is at least during this school year, we have a resource center where faculty members will have easy access to materials that they can use in their classes. During this school year, while the top universities have loaned their materials, the Commission will start funding projects that will either develop new content for learning or even give grants to universities to buy content that they will now use in their learning management system. So hopefully, within the school year, we will see our universities develop their own materials, videos of their faculty members doing lectures, doing experiments, developing how you redesign your syllabus, how you develop both online and offline resources, so that by next school year, when these universities will no longer loan their materials, then we will be able to populate the website with more materials that can be shared in all universities. So this is going to be launched next week. Our training program for teachers, we have identified several leading universities that will do training to be funded by CHED. The universities that have already presented proposals to the Commission include the UP Open University, submitted a proposal, AMA has submitted a proposal. The Commission and BAMP is looking into this and will approve it. So hopefully by end of June and predictably the whole month July, we will now do training programs for faculty members funded by the Commission. Of course, I am happy that many universities on their own are training their faculty. And some universities have discussed with me that they will do training programs free of charge. They will not submit proposals anymore to CHED. They will just share their training programs for the faculty with other universities. We have never seen a situation like this, where amidst the pandemic, we see this morning that the House of Representatives has approved on second reading the financial assistance package for higher education. We thank the chair of the Committee on Higher and Technical Education, Congressman Mark Go, and Deputy Speaker Lauren Ligarda for spearheading this initiative of putting together the financial package for higher education institutions. The Senate version has also approved. We thank Committee on Finance Chair Sani Angara, Senate President Pro Tem Ralph Recto, and the other champions of education in the Senate for helping on this matter. What we have done in our submissions to the House and the Senate is put together a financial package to improve connectivity, to help private universities in terms of their financial situation, to provide for grants to public and private universities to improve their connectivity, even grants for learning management systems. So the Commission has made official representation in the House and the Senate, bringing the position of COCOPEA and PASOK in the discussions of Congress, and ensuring that these concerns are incorporated in the draft bill of both the House and the Senate. Now we hope that these bills will push forward and money can be identified to fund these proposals. So these are some of the initiatives. I continue to work and attend all IATF meetings. We have IATF meetings practically every other day, and every day, depending on the issue at hand. In the IATF, I am making sure that the concerns of higher education are discussed extensively. The next issue that I intend to bring to the IATF would now be the health protocols that will be observed by higher education institutions when they open the semester in August. So the Commission is sitting down with its public health experts, with the Department of Health, and of course consult with public and private HEIs on the proper health protocols that will now be required for universities when they open classes. The target is that within June, I will be able to bring it to the IATF for approval. And by July, we can now test these protocols in the different universities. I intend to visit some of the universities where the health protocols will be observed and maybe invite some of our media practitioners or media friends to join me when we inspect these facilities. So we will see how chairs are spaced in the classroom, how the cafeteria is restructured, how the gym, how the auditorium seating arrangement will be observed, what would be the health protocols in case students or faculty members get sick, if there is contamination within the campuses, what will be the arrangement between universities and their local governments. So there is time because the semester will still open in August. I am also in this with the League of Provinces and ULAP in discussing how we plan to open classes in August. So once the health protocols are finalized, I will now sit down via Zoom with different leagues and explain to them what needs to be done, what kind of coordination will be required between HEIs and government units so that we prepare for the new normal. So all of this are happening. We are doing our best to move as fast as we can. And I know these are very challenging times for our universities because aside from developing capability for flexible learning, you also have to distribute your tertiary education subsidy. You also have to liquidate your expenses. These are very challenging times, but I am confident that
Much, Honorable De Vera, for your take.
we ask our RASUC officials and our CHEDRO officials and our associations like Cocopea to continuously engage faculty members that continue discussing and leveling off how the adjustments are being made. And as you start to level off with adjustments, we are going to bring in now the technical panels to connect what you are doing with what they are also thinking about so that this can be brought, if it needs changes in the curriculum, that can be brought to the commission for action. I know that this is sometimes difficult and challenging for universities because many have been trained to just wait for the commission to issue guidelines. But COVID-19 is a different kind of pandemic. The conditions on the ground are very different. And therefore, we need our universities, we need in adjusting their learning system because they know the conditions on the ground will be able to recommend to the commission what kind of policy adjustments are going to be made. So that is answer to the short question. I hope the HEIs in attendance understood what I am saying. For example, I have asked our universities to review their internship policies. For example, maybe it's a good idea for all HEIs to suspend internship outside of the country, at least for this school year. Why do I ask that? It is because one of the things that we learned during the pandemic is if the pandemic affects different countries in the world, different countries respond differently. For example, there were some students from region, I don't know if it's from region 6, who were sent to Thailand 1 week before the lockdown in the Philippines. And when we locked down, they were supposed to be working in a tourist facility in Thailand, and the tourist facility also closed. And they just told the students to go home. So our students will be at the mercy of different policies in different parts of the world. So if that happens, the accountability will now fall on our universities and CHED to bring them back. So we were able to bring them back with the help of the Department of Foreign Affairs through sweeper flights organized by the Department of Tourism and the Department of Foreign Affairs. We were able to bring back, I think, more than 100 interns and faculty members abroad. But it was very difficult and very, very stressful. So maybe one of the policies that our universities should seriously think, until we can assure that conditions abroad are really protective of our students, maybe let's not do a student internship for the school year and prepare policies for student internship next school year. Now, what about internships locally? I will not be able to tell you how you do it, but the guiding principle should be that we should review our internship for 2 fundamental reasons. When you send your interns to companies, we are not sure if the companies are fully operational, and therefore we don't know if they will be accepted. Number 2, we are not sure of the health situation in these companies because different geographic areas have different quarantine situations. And therefore, how do we do internship? Maybe even if you have agreements with companies, maybe for the first 1 or 2 months, do some portions of the internship inside your university using limited face-to-face. And as the conditions improve, or if they improve, allow them to go to the companies. Because remember, business establishments are not 100%. I think one of the things that we must all be very conscious of in the education sector is that the education sector does not exist in a vacuum. All the attached activities related to education are not within our control. Attach a precondition for higher education institutions to consult with their local governments. Why do I put that in the IATF? It is because even if we allow limited face-to-face, even if we allow, for example, public transportation is not available. Even if we open up, if public transportation is not available, the students and the faculty and the employees will not be able to go to the university anyway. So you have to discuss this with your local government units because the situation in the area will determine it. That's why you have to consistently work with your local government units because the attached educational services connected to the school, food, supplies, transportation, are not within the control of the university. They are within the control of local governments. So that is the approach that we should take. In short, there is no one policy or solution applicable to everyone. There are certain things when we apply this in our individual universities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have our next question for you. It is from Rowena Pendon. And the question is, what will happen to the students who have no connectivity? Again, the question from Rowena Pendon, what will happen to the students who have no connectivity?
Mute. Okay. If the students have no connectivity, then you have to design offline activities that will allow them to continue their education. You have to redesign your syllabus so significant portions of the syllabus become modular that you can assign for them to do it at home. They still have textbooks. They still have reading materials that they have. If I was a faculty member, because I have been practicing flexible learning when nobody was calling it flexible learning. When I was teaching at the University of the Philippines, there were portions of the semester where students were not required to go to class. I developed learning packets for them. There are guide questions. There is a discussion. I put my lecture notes for every topic. What are the key questions that they should look at? What are the key points in the material they should look at? What they should summarize? And we give it for them to do at home. That does not require connectivity, by the way. Learning can continue even if there is no connectivity. In fact, I think you all know it in Region 6. Silliman University, through a grant by CHED, has developed a learning management system that does not require internet connection. All the students and the faculty have to do is they must have a flash disk with them. And when they have access to the internet, they plug it in or they make their assignments, etc., and they can submit it without internet connection. Pwede yung offline. There are many offline options that are available. Please, explore these options. There is still a textbook that they can read. Hindi naman lahat kailangan nasa classroom ang gagawin. That's why I am batting for a limited face. Will have limited face-to-face for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of classes in school. The other half of the class are given learning packets that they will do at the other half will now do the exercises in the syllabus at home. And so you can significantly reduce the number of students who will go to the university. And their education will still continue. So it is possible. It can be done.
Thank you, sir. And for our next question, this is from Mary Rose Rodriguez. What about PE classes like team sports? What are the suggested substitute activities? Again, a question from Mary Rose Rodriguez. What about PE classes like team sports? What are the suggested substitute activities?
Well, I don't have an answer yet on physical education. In fact, that is the reason why there is an ongoing webinar now by CHED to where the health experts and the others are talking to conceptualize how physical education should move in the new normal. I expect that the issue of sports will be taken up in the IATF maybe by late June or early July. The only thing that the IATF has approved is the conduct of non-contact sports, but this is for physical exercises of individuals. So they have allowed and enumerated non-contact sports that will be allowed. Cycling, swimming, golf, tennis, I think. It is contained in IATF resolution, I think 38. But this is so that our citizens can continue to exercise when they reach, I think, GCQ and MGCQ. We have not discussed how sports will evolve. The PBA, that they be allowed to open the PBA season. It is difficult to decide on this because if you look at the risk factor, sports is close to the top in terms of risky activities, especially contact sports. And I think everyone knows that in the case of the United States, the National Basketball Association has not decided on how to complete the season because when they locked down in March, the season has not been over. This morning on CBS, Dr. Anthony Fauci was quoted in saying that football may not happen this year. So these are very difficult statements coming from our health experts. On the other hand, I think you all know that boxing has continued, pero yung boxing is without an audience. Like I think you already know that the top-rated Joshua Greer several days ago. So yung PE, wala pa akong sagot because the IATF has not discussed it. I am trying to talk with the sports leaders like Philippine Sports Commission so that this can be discussed in the IATF.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. This is from Denmark Jonsson. Considering that online education or remote learning is somehow different from the face-to-face learning, will the Commission issue a memorandum on modifications of target competencies or identifying most essential learning competencies for the different programs? Again, a question from Denmark Jonsson. Considering that online education or remote learning is somehow different from the face-to-face learning, will the Commission issue a memorandum on modifications of target competencies or identifying most essential learning competencies for the different programs?
Again, this question is too, what would be the correct term? Too early to be asked. From them on what changes are required. The technical panels of the different disciplines are continually meeting and assessing the curriculum and the learning competencies. But we must know and understand how faculty members on the ground level in each of the HEIs adjusting. Because, for example, the Commission is not in a position to have expertise on very specific disciplines. I would consider myself as a practitioner of public administration when I do adjust my syllabus on flexible learning to adjust the delivery mode. That is the first level. Understand and get a feel of the adjustments on the ground by faculty members. This is not the time for the commission to be prescriptive. This is a time for the commission to learn on what is happening on the ground and connect this with what the technical panel is also recommending and discuss it at the commission and bank level. So please, I ask our faculty members of the university, seize this opportunity to show your innovations, to show your expertise, to show your flexibility. And the commission will listen to you and will adjust the policies as needed. So if I was a faculty member, I would not think of immediately thinking about changing the learning outcomes. If I was a faculty member, the first thing that I would do is, if I look at my syllabus, look at the curriculum, is still maintain the learning outcomes. But the question that I will ask myself is, how do I change the delivery mode of my teaching in order to achieve the learning outcomes? Dapat ganun ang approach, hindi yung babawasan mo ng learning outcomes and then I adjust. Adjust first. Change the delivery system. And then if you find out that certain learning outcomes are going to note of the potential changes, I will be very interested to listen to your experience. Because the experts actually are the professors who are teaching this discipline. I would have competence to discuss about public administration or management because that is my field. But I have no idea about how the learning outcomes will be changed or be reduced in a lot of other fields of which I have no competence. So I am interested to listen to how the faculty members are experiencing it, what learning outcomes they would like to review and discuss. This is how I would want our universities to approach this particular situation. I hope my message is resonating. I know in this country we have been trained to follow CHED orders. Under my leadership in the commission, this is a commission that consults, that wants to find out how universities are doing, to let the experts in the universities talk on the part of the commission.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Angelo Quimpo from NBC of Calibo, Aklan. For private HEIs, we can see a trend of students leaving either to skip school for the next year due to economic pressures. Can we rely on TES? Can TES be expanded as there are more poor students now, unlike in the previous years? Again, I'd like to read the question from Angelo Quimpo from NBC of Calibo, Aklan. For private HEIs, we can see a trend of students leaving either to skip school for the next year due to economic pressures. Can we rely on TES? Can TES be expanded as there are more poor students now, unlike in the previous years?
Well, there is good news and bad news. What do you want to know first, the good news or the is that this is a position that COCOPE has taken, that additional TES be given to students who might not necessarily belong to the listahan 2.0 of the SWD, or are not in the no sook, no look category, but still need financial assistance. The good news is this has been incorporated in House and Senate versions of the recovery package. That's the good news. So how can this happen? And funding is found, then that can be pursued. Okay. But for the current budget year, for year 2020, we cannot expand the test beyond what is provided by RA 10931 because the budget for 2020 was approved early this year, before COVID. And there is no way by which we can anticipate that COVID will hit us. So there is no appropriation currently for expanding tests beyond what is allowed by law. So the funds that are available for tests will cover only those covered by law right now. So that's the bad news. The good news is it's in the recovery package. If this becomes law and funds are made available, then there will be additional tests in addition.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Justin Christian Marie Obando. Concerning connectivity for faculty and students, would it be possible to partner with major telecom companies for affordable educational data plans akin to free Facebook, but where there is limited video streaming and or photos needed for visual aids? Also, will there be programs or loans available to schools or individual faculty to purchase needed teaching tools such as HiRam to handle video streaming? Thank you. Again, I would like to read this question from Justin Christian Marie Obando. Concerning connectivity for faculty and students. Yes, sir. Would you like to answer it right away?
Yes, for Justin, I have been in discussion with Globe already. And one of the things we are discussing is to allow students to download from the PHL Philippines CHED Connect free of charge. And Globe is very open to the idea. We're just working on the details of this. That is as far as downloading resources from the online resource center of CHED that can be used by students. So once the online resources, the CHED Connect will be downloaded or will be uploaded on Tuesday, and we have a dry run, then we will proceed with our discussions with Globe on getting free downloading. So that is very possible. Now about the loans for connectivity, for getting laptops, etc. I have been very open to the idea for some time now. The problem is nobody has conceptualized how it will actually be implemented. Conceptually, I support it. How it will be actually implemented is the problem. For example, if government makes funds available, and that is included in the House and Senate version, on the ground, how will it be implemented? Do we give money to the universities so that the universities can give out no interest loan to their students or their gadgets and pay back the school? If that is possible, then I am open to discussing that in the House and the Senate when this will be implemented. I have asked COCOPEA to officially put together a proposal on how it will be implemented, because the House and the Senate were also asking for it. The allocation is in the bill, but the implementation is not very clear. Clearly, CHED will not be able to implement it on its own. We have no expertise to become a financial institution. We do not operate like a bank. We have no skills in giving out loans. So CHED is not willing that the money be given to CHED directly, and we will be the ones farming it out to individuals. because it will be an administrative. We have no expertise on that. So if Kukopeya has an idea that works, I will support it 100%. I will bring it to the attention of the House and the Senate, and that can be incorporated in the bill. But as of now, while we all agree on the need to do this, nobody has a workable plan that could be implemented starting tomorrow. That is the situation.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Dr. Renato H. Divinagracia. We are a small college in the southern part of Negros Occidental. Most of our students are poor and can hardly afford our low tuition fee. In this extraordinary pandemic situation, can we expect the same help that CHED had given to us in the years by providing more student subsidies? Thank you, and more power, Chair Popoy.
Earlier, I think the idea is tests will be provided to students who are not necessarily in the listahanan or in Nosuk Noluk. As I said, I am very open to it. I have pushed for it in the House and Senate version. In the House and the Senate. So we cross our fingers that it will be enacted into law and funds will be made available. But for current 2020 appropriation, there is none because the 2020 appropriation was approved late last year before COVID, and nobody predicted that COVID will hit the higher education sector this bad. So we cannot possibly allocate for things that we do not know when the budget for 2020 was passed. So that is the situation.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Dr. Belinda M. Go. Will CHED revise the PSGs of the different programs for academic year 2020-2021 to consider the most essential program outcomes?
Again, I would rather listen to what you propose rather than tell you that things will be changed. I have no expertise in many of the areas. You are the experts. I would like to listen to you. When you go flexible, what is it in the delivery that will change the learning outcomes? What is it that need to be changed in the PSGs? For example, internship. If internship is done more in the school than outside the school, in areas like technology courses, I would rather defer to President Muyong. He is more of an expert than me. I have no idea how these are being taught. So I will not on my own initiate the review or the change in the PSG. I would listen first to PACWIT. I will listen to ACAP, ask them what are their recommendations, consult with the technical panels, and make the adjustments in the commission. So that is the approach I am taking. And that is the correct approach. Because President Renato Sorolla is more of an expert on industrial technology than me. What is my business talking about industrial technology? I never took the course. I do not know the outcomes. But PACWIT is more of an expert than me. So I am asking the professional organizations. I am asking the associations of deans. I am asking RASUK to continue the conversation and discuss the changes in the discipline. Please tell me what you have agreed upon, and I will make the necessary corrections in the commission and MAP.
Thank you, sir, for the clarification. Our next question is from Dr. Noli R. Mandario. Sir, good afternoon. Sir, I don't know if there are talks between CHED and AFP Reserve Command. In this regard, what will be the approach to ROTC instruction?
We have not discussed it in the IATF. No? I am part of the AFP Reserve Command, and honestly, I think the AFP is more, its energies are being used in fighting COVID now. No? But thank you for bringing it to my attention. I will bring this to the attention of Secretary Lorenzana in the IATF and also to the DND hierarchy and the Reserve Command of the Armed Forces so we can discuss this. But thank you for bringing it to my attention. This has escaped me honestly over the past few months because the other more urgent matters are being taken up.
Sir, next question is from Angelo Quimpo. Will the gains by HEIs in terms of new methodologies, new materials, enhanced streamlined curriculums be rolled over to the time when there is a vaccine, i.e. allowed more face-to-face classes, or will HEIs revert back to a more face-to-face dependent curriculum?
I think the new normal is really flexible learning, and that is the only way to go. I think that is the only way to go. Universities, COVID resilient, continue to make them pandemic resilient in the future, so that if there are similar outbreaks in the future, we are more ready than the situation we are in right now. Of course, there is always an option. If indeed a vaccine is produced and we can mass vaccinate, there is always the option to adjust to more face-to-face. But we must also realize that pandemics keep on happening and new viruses always come out. So it is better to be pandemic thing will be online because there are certain elements in face-to-face that students and faculty need to enrich the learning process. That is a fact that is discussed in universities all over the world. Option. It is not the only option. The option is to be flexible. So my answer is, I think the new normal will require flexible learning. As we become better for flexible learning, flexible means you can go both ways. You can dramatically reduce face-to-face, or you can increase more face-to-face as you're able to be resilient in your campuses. But I do not see a going back because we need to develop resilience in higher education, and we need flexibility in higher education.
Our last two questions. This one is from Dr. Ray Egas. Sir, may we know if CHED has already talked to COA to also exercise flexibility in auditing while we at the SUCs exercise flexibility in all our actions at this time of pandemic?
Well, you have to tell me what flexibility in auditing you want, because in our discussions with COA, the flexibility we asked COA already gave it to us. I think our SUCs know that the CHED COA had already agreed that even if the SUCs have not audited all the previous tests, the test for 2019 has been released to our SUCs already. Kahit na hindi fully liquidated, kasi dati less than half of the SUCs have been able to get their test for 2019 because they're still distributing their test for 2018. And so we discussed with has approved it. And so we have downloaded to almost all the SUKs their 2019 tests already. So you'll have to tell me what kind of flexibility you would want. My advice is you start discussing with your, and if there are problems across SUKs, please tell me so I can make representation with the COA chair and the commission itself to look into these activities.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Andrew Eusebio Tan from CAMSI. Good day. A number of processes based on PSGs may be sacrificed due to excuses that we are in not so normal times that may compromise the expected desirable educational outcomes. On the Commission's perspective, what would be the mechanism in monitoring these desired outcomes realization?
As public administration is concerned, I have experienced it myself. I did flexible learning in year 2000 when nobody was talking about flexible learning at that time. I conducted a course on public administration while I was a visiting professor at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. My students were in the Philippines. I was conducting the class from Baltimore for 3/4 of the semester. And I don't think we sacrificed any learning outcomes. Maybe it's because public administration as a field is easier to be flexible. But I understand that some other degree programs will become very challenging. So again, it will depend on the degree program. It will depend on the flexible option that will be pursued by faculty members. And again, I would like to know the experience of faculty members. So it will be a good learning experience for me when we adjust the PSGs.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Arnulfo Distor Jr. Of Garcia College of Technology, Calibo, Aklan. What about those fees that cannot be used this academic year 2020-2021? Will CHED give us the freedom to align it by enhancing our internet connectivity and other device in conducting flexible learning?
Okay, let me read through that. Well, the tuition fee issue has become very controversial lately. There were applications that were given in the first quarter of the year by private universities before COVID to our regional offices. And these were not acted upon by the Commission because of COVID. Now that we are shifting decided, and I have issued a memorandum telling the private universities that we are giving you back your tuition fee increase application and asking you if you will proceed with the application, and that if you will proceed, please discuss and consult with your students and their families on how the tuition fees is structured under a flexible system. And once you have done your consultation, give back your application to the Commission by July 1. I hope our universities have all received that May 17 memorandum. If not, may I ask our CHED regional office to send it to this group. It is a May 17 memorandum that I have issued. In short, this has to be discussed the fee structure is going to be adjusted because of flexible learning. I think the concern out there, and these are the complaints I have reached, is that the private universities have not figured out structured and have not consulted with the parents. Even my apo, who is studying in a private school, their parents, my daughter, is thinking of homeschooling them because the private school has not reached out to their parents at all. So what activities will be done online, etc., etc. And therefore, they are concerned about how the tuition is computed. So I would suggest to our private schools to do your computation and to do your consultation. Tuition fee application to our regional office if you are proposing for an increase, and our regional offices will review it in the context of flexible learning. Nawala yata.
Ma'am Cosette? We're calling on Ma'am Cosette Monteblanco.
Yes. Hi, Ma. Okay, paano kung ma-unmute? Aryo?
We can already hear you, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
The guidelines given to us.
But it's the same principle. If the exercise is done to be observed, because what the students will learn will be affected if there's so many of them. But if these are self-directed modules that they will download online, then the ratios will not matter. So again, it depends on how this will be. Kung ang iniisip nyo magsuzoom instead of somebody physically directing students, it is all on Zoom, then you'll have to observe the number of students, because if you have 50 students simultaneously on Zoom, you won't be able to supervise them correctly.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Jessie Solas. If there is a COVID-19 positive person near the area of the school and most of the students are not permitted to go to school, will a different venue be permitted, like in a blended mode?
Okay, can you continue the discussions among yourself? Maybe a regional director can take over answering some of it. I am needed in the IATF. My position is required now. Give me about 5 to 10 minutes to speak in the IATF, but please continue the discussions. I ask our President Muyong of RASOC to continue the discussions. But let me
Yes,
just
sir.
excuse myself for some time. I'll just jump to the IATF. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Honorable J. Prospero E. De Vera, the third, for sharing to us here in Western Visayas your invaluable time. Despite your very busy schedule, we are grateful for the updates and insights that you have shared so that the leaders and educators of HEIs may be able to make the right steps towards the development, the streamlining, and the delivery of their learning continuity plan. We wish we could give Commissioner De Vera a resounding round of applause right now for his hard work and dedication to the Philippine higher education, but I guess a virtual applause will do for now. Thank you once again, Chair Popoy. I'm wondering if the RASOC chair could answer the question by Jessie Solas, sir, Dr. Raul Muyong, or maybe Dr. Cristobal.
We give the floor to Dr. Cristobal to answer the question.
If the question is, if there is a COVID-19 positive person near the area of the school, will a different venue be permitted? We have to understand, until the first, it's more of a flexi learning. Paano po yung near the school? If that concerns the staff, if that concerns the students, wala po talaga ang mga estudyante natin sa school dahil nga for the first semester, it's more of the flexi learning.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Our last question is from Brian from ISCOF. Is it possible to create a list of all lesson topics for all possible subjects and courses? Divide these to all SUCs who will create simple lecture videos like voice-over presentations. All the outputs will be validated and used as official lesson content to be used nationwide. The pooled outputs can be uploaded in an official YouTube channel or sent to every SUC where students can just copy them on their devices and use as offline content. Worksheets will also be made to supplement these videos.
Ma'am, for this query, in fact, for the different flexi learning seminars that we held, I always end my message with this thing. I always tell the group, if possible, to come up with what we call a Region 6 flexible learning per course. Actually, it's our battle cry from the commission for the institutions to work things out together. But for the materials that were mentioned on the latter part of the question, that's why on Tuesday, there will be a launching of the OERs in the country where not only Region 6, the materials will be available for materials coming from the different HEIs in the country will be made available to everyone. In fact, Region 6 was chosen to give a testimony on the use of the OER. Maghahanap pa po kami ng estudyante coming from the SUC to test on this on Tuesday. So napili po tayo sa Visayas, ang Region 6 ang napili. So maghahanap kami ng isang estudyante. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our last question po from Dr. Grace Del Prado. Is it not a health hazard to stay long in the internet? We go on with online classes to avoid COVID-19, but we all develop other kind of disease due to radiation.
Ma'am, have you attended any of our flexi learning seminar? It seems po hindi ata. Kasi po, we have discussed in the different flexi learning seminars, hindi lang, flexible learning is not merely virtual. Marami pong forms of flexible learning. So if you have not attended one, just inform us so that we could allow you to listen kung ano man yung program na hawak nyo, para malaman nyo na ano ba ang sinabi ng ating mga speakers. Because we have already corrected that. Fake news po yun na flexible learning is merely virtual. So we have Dr. Muyang here, who was one of our speakers.
Yes, with that question, of course, when we speak of flexible learning, it's not purely online. It's either online, offline, or blended. But of course, when we have our flexible learning modalities, hindi naman palagi na sa computer kasi meron naman tayong self-paced, di ba? So what we had experienced with the National Teachers College when we have our training last week, we have an alternate session. So we have the 2-hour session online, then the next day is a self-paced. So hindi lahat na session is online. So there's always a way of doing the flexible learning.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cristobal and Dr. Muyong, for the clarification. Thank you so much for both your insights regarding the last questions. We really appreciate it. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I would like to call on the president of Westside State University to deliver his closing message. Please all welcome Dr. Joselito F. Villaruz. Dr. Villaruz, please. So while we are waiting for Dr. Villaruz,
Okay.
he's already there. Yes,
I-
sir.
I was waiting to be unmuted. So I think everyone would agree that this has been a very productive afternoon. So on behalf of Regional Association of Schools, Universities, and Colleges, Region 6, I would like to sincerely thank our esteemed Commission on Higher Education Chair, Dr. Popoy de Vera, for sharing his insights and wisdom, calmed our anxieties, allayed our fears, and enlightened us on issues affecting the education sector during these very challenging times. It is always a good learning experience to be discussing with our indefatigable chair. Indeed, this afternoon is very special because he accepted our invitation despite his very hectic schedule. We would be glad to invite him again in our future webinars, such as this one. So to all the participants, the educators and school administrators in Region 6, thank you for joining us. And of course, to our dear CHEDRO Director, Dr. Sol Cristobal, thank you, ma'am, for the continued support to all the HEIs in the region. Finally, to the rest of the SUC presidents, especially to our RASUC President, Dr. Raul Muyong, thank you for initiating this activity, and thank you all presidents for attending this afternoon's activity. May God continue to guide us and bless us as we face the challenges of the new normal. Good day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Villaruz. To the rest of the presidents and administrators and educators of HEIs of Western Visayas, thank you so much for your active participation in this very fruitful virtual forum on updates in Philippine higher education in the new normal. Please don't go yet because we will have a class picture. Okay, we would like all of you to turn on your videos or your cameras, turn them on, and please look straight to the camera so that we can take a picture of everyone. First slide. Slide 2. Slide 3. Slide 4. Slide 5. Please be patient. We have 10 slides. Slide 6. Don't forget to smile. Slide 7. Slide 8. Slide 9. And finally, slide 10. Thank you, everyone, for making this webinar possible. We are grateful to Dr. Raul F. Muyong and RASUC 6, as well as Dr. Maura Consolacion D. Cristobal, and the rest of the SUC presidents for taking the lead in making this virtual forum possible. Once again, thank you, Honorable J. Prospero de Vera III, for taking time to be with the leaders and educators of Western Visayas. Maraming salamat po. Stay safe, everyone, and may God bless us all. This has been your moderator, Giza Napone, signing off.